Hey guys, DMS here. Today, we're talking about squiggly lines. Let's get into it. So, last time we talked about measurements, I asked you guys to name the rig, and you guys said Henrik von Lissenboy. So, that's his name now, Henrik von Lissenboy. Luckily, his ear is removable, and I have it right here, well, the outside of his ear, and then his ear canal is right here. With these two things, I am making headphone measurements. And now with a significantly greater level of accuracy than I was before with a flat plate or with the mini DSP ears. But that said, these measurements are displayed in a slightly different format, and I would like to explain them a little bit so that you guys can better understand them when you see them in videos from here on out. So for example, I have this. This is the Sennheiser PC38X, the Drop Collab gaming headset. And it's pulled up right here. Now initially, if you're used to flat plate measurements or compensated measurements, this is going to look strange. It looks very bright in this upper region. And that's because this is what is known as a raw measurement. See, this ear shape and this ear canal naturally have an ear gain region right over here. And that is the natural area where our ear is enhancing certain frequencies. So this bump in this region isn't actually brightness. There's actually a bit of a line that kind of goes up and over that bump, and that's closer to how our ear actually hears things. So if something is more adherent to that, then it is actually closer to how we hear it. It's not necessarily elevated. Now, to help us see this, there are several different target curves that we can apply. In this specific case is a Harman combined curve. I got it from Andrew Resolve Reviews. And it is a mixture between the bass from Harman 2013, I believe, and the mids and highs from Harman 2018, and that's represented in this graph on a green line. But we can also put in different target curves, things like diffuse field or different types of free field, or basically anything out there as a target curve we could import into this graph and overlay it so we can see how it compares to these different standards for flat, because there isn't actually a standard for flat. There's several different standards for flat. So that is important to know about this ear gain region when we're looking at future measurements. Now this system is similarly designed and anatomically similar to the Gros 43AG, but it's worth noting this is not exactly the same. There's going to be some small variations, like for example in this graph, 3 kHz is a little bit higher than it would be on a Gros 43AG. And in the specific instance, what I could possibly do is maybe it's a clamp issue. I could give the headphone more clamp and see how it measures differently. In most runs of measurements I'm going to be publishing, I'll be doing a significant number of runs, averaging them, and then putting them into these graphs so that we can see them. Hopefully to eliminate things like that, but it's worth noting that because this is not a 43AG, there will be some level of variances between the results on this and results that you'll see from Resolve or Kren or Oratory or anybody else. But we will at least be in a comparable ballpark to those, and it's going to be significantly more accurate than measurements coming off of flat plates or mini DSP ears. I think I'm going to put a Google Drive at the link in video descriptions from now on, if I remember to, and that's going to have the actual measurement files for everything that I'm putting out there. I want to improve upon the calibration for these raw measurements at some point, because there is some small level of calibration involved, even though it's still a raw measurement. And this is not a compensation for the graph, it's more just small minute fixes to try and bring this closer to the results of a Gros 43AG. So as I make changes like this in the future, I will let you guys know. I'll put out updates so you can stay informed and know exactly what is going on, and can basically have a better assessment of the accuracy of the measurements I'm putting out there. Along with this, it's very much worth noting that measurements are still not perfect. Do not take this graph and show it to somebody and say, this thing is perfect, this thing isn't, and here's why. This is just to help us better communicate some of the things that I am hearing to you guys, since a lot of the headphones that I'm reviewing here, you can't just throw on your heads and listen to them. A lot of these reviews are just me saying things and you guys taking my word for it, so this is just another way to communicate the things that I'm hearing to you, and this system is going to allow me to do that in a way that is more accurate than the previous systems I was doing. I still am making a point to not measure until I have listened and formed my opinions on a headphone. Once I have listened and once I have formed my opinions and am solidified on a headphone, then I will perform measurements and see where my opinions align with those measurements. And it'll be interesting because we have headphones that adhere to different targets. This Allo S4X is a good example of that. It's a headphone that I recently got in, and it is adhering to a different target curve than a few other reference or flat sounding headphones that I have around, and we'll be talking about that in a future video. It's actually a very interesting difference. Whereas the K361, a video that's coming out in the near future, is a headphone that is very close to the Harman target curve. Your preferences on these target curves will be very subjective, so if you don't like one target curve more or like another one more, it does help to see certain ones side by side and kind of know where things lean towards. But there isn't a target curve that is right or wrong, so if it doesn't match up to one of these target curves that I have on the screen at some point when I'm presenting it in a video, don't think that means the headphone is right or wrong. It just means that it is not adhering to a target curve that is right for you. Now that said, there are target curves that I do think are very preferred for professional applications. There are target curves I think are better suited for professional applications. And in those regions, I'm a little bit more nitpicky about where things do and don't line up, especially if they're marketed as professional headphones. But if your main thing is listening enjoyment, you're not a professional who has to mix and master, don't put too much thought into the measurements aspect of this, because once again, this is just an additional tool I'm using to help communicate the things that I am finding with these headphones. Pretty short video, nice little update. The measurement rig is named. I need to put his ear back in his head. And with the next video, the AKG K361, you will be seeing a batch of measurements from this rig as I review that headphone. But that's about all I have for you guys today. If you liked this video, please leave a like down below, a comment letting me know what you want to see in the future. If you want to get active in the community, you can at forum.hifiguides.com. And as always, don't forget to stick around and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Until the next one, guys. Peace.